Hello. It's your girl, Sean Ray, and y'all know what day it is. It's Wednesday, and welcome back to Boss Talk. That's bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars, and that's you. Hey there, y'all. It's your girl, Sean Ray. Welcome back to Boss Talk. And it's Wednesday. Y'all know that's Sunday. So tell me what you're doing right now out there. Now, get the end of the week. Of Wednesday. Almost there. Hello, y'all. And let me turn that on. All right. So I'm saying hello to Lanny all the way in the ATL. She says, good evening, Boss Talkers. Yes, thanks for tuning in, sis. It's good to see you. Aw, that's my heart right there. Wow, you look happy. Who's the lucky guy? It's you, silly. So, Boss Talkers, I know that you all were tuned in a couple of weeks ago when you met my intended Mr. William Kirby Seals. And I am here to report to you all tonight that on Saturday, he officially popped the question and we are officially engaged. Woo! See that? So he's the lucky guy. And we are going to have some amazing nuptials in July. So we're very excited about that. We'll keep you posted on the wedding planning because we're having a ball doing it. So it is so good to see y'all back over here on another Wednesday. Hey, ATL, she says, you look beautiful, Sean. Aw, thank you, my sister. Thank you. Renee says, congrats to you both. Yes, Renee was actually in the room when the nuptials went down. Well, not the nuptials, but when the proposal went down. So, and on the way there, I was like, I know it's going to happen soon, but I don't know when, having no idea that he would show up at my Black Women's Network meeting and surprise me. Shout out to Denise Estelle, who was in behind the scenes with him making that thing happen. So we're very happy and excited. So I also need to do some other shout outs. So I want to shout out my sis, Tracy Lewis Treutler, the proprietor of the Relax Spa, because this afternoon, Gwendolyn and I went to the Relax Spa for some best friend massage and facial activity. And look here, y'all. I feel like liquid paper. So I have to shout Tracy out because the Relax Spa is like a wonderful best kept secret in Burbank. It is on Olive and First, y'all. And you must call Miss Tracy at the Relax Spa and book an appointment. And if you need a massage and you're all locked up, please see Peter. I'm sorry, please see Sam. Sam was like deep tissue Swedish massage out of this world. And I kid you not, I went in there all locked up. My muscles were locked up. My fascia was all attached tightly to that, to those muscles. And I walked out of there flowing. So, I want to call today Wellness Wednesday. So, I'm going to ask you all to just take a moment and breathe in some joy and some loving kindness and all those things today with me. So, first, let's just take a deep breath in through your nose. Let's like take that breath into the count of 4. So, here we go. Ready? In. Now hold it for just a second. Hold it, hold it, hold it. And release it to the count of 4 also. Let's do that again. Breathe it in. Yes, indeed. So, when you do that, you open up everything inside you and you can breathe in whatever's good and wonderful and loving kindness, and then you let out the other stuff that that isn't serving you. So yes, Lanny, she says she's looking forward to hearing Vivian Anderson. I know that's right. I am excited for this show tonight. Just to let you know, just to let you ladies know, she described the cat like he was a little elf crawling all over her. This is true. I did say that Sam was like a little ninja because he's very light and he actually was up on the table and his knees were kneading the backs of my thighs and my hamstrings loosened up, and I am walking well now. I am walking well. Yes, we know that you were referring to the massage. Absolutely. Can you call Mauricio? Because if he dials my phone one more time, I'm going to scream. Take care of that. Thank you. So let me tell you about my guest tonight. I'm really excited to bring her on so that you all can meet her. So tonight, I don't know what just happened. All right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Vivian Anderson. She's a healer activist dedicated to building a world where all Black girls thrive. Since 1996, Vivian's work has been rooted in youth, teen, family, and community health and well-being, racial and social justice. Vivian began her career as a teacher in 1996 at Timbuktu Academy of Science and Technology, then moved to New York City, where she would run programs and become a senior director at the YMCA of Greater New York. She did that from 2000 to 2013. In 2012 to 2013, she became interim executive director of Momentum Teens, where program enrollment reached their highest numbers compared with the previous years. Since 2014, she has been a member of Black Lives Matter New York City. In 2015, Vivian traded the rich networks of her home in New York City for many unknowns in Columbia, South Carolina. Her courage was inspired by that of 2 young Black girls introduced to the world when a school resource officer at Spring Valley High School brutally assaulted one, Shakara, for refusing to hand over a cell phone, y'all, and threatened and arrested another, Naya, for standing up for Shakara in a moment when nobody else did. Thus, the hashtag Every Black Girl campaign was born. Since then, the Every Black Girl campaign has become Every Black Girl Inc., a 501c3 organization focused on creating the radical systemic change that is needed to have a world worthy of the genius and heart of every Black girl. So without another word from me, Boss Talkers, please welcome to Boss Talk, Ms. Vivian Anderson. Hello,
Hi.
Vivian.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on.
Oh, my
Yes.
pleasure.
Yes. So y'all, I actually, as the kids would say, I slid into Vivian's DMs. And because I actually happened to be watching, I guess, was it Netflix? Is it on Netflix?
Probably Amazon or Stars Network. I'm not
Okay.
sure. It's not on Netflix. I don't
Okay.
think.
I think I was watching Prime then, Amazon Prime. And as I was watching, we flipped over to something called On These Grounds. And
Mhm.
it was a documentary. And I turned it on and I could not turn it off because it was the story of this young girl, Shakara,
Mhm.
and how she was assaulted. And it was just really heartbreaking to me. It made me angry. It brought up every single emotion a person can have. And Vivian was in that documentary and was part of it and talking about the incident and what it brought up in her and why she made the bold move from New York City to go to Columbia, South Carolina. And so tell us, what was it that hit you that made you make such a drastic decision?
Yeah. So, whew, I'm a little nervous, but bear with me.
Relax.
So,
Love it.
at that time, like I said, I was with BLM. I'm not with BLM anymore, but I was with BLM. I'm working in New York. I'm working with gender justice organizations. I'm doing this work, and we're doing Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin. We're doing all these things, and so my friend who was working for an organization, she called me. She was living with we were roommates at the time. She called me and she said, "Oh, did you see the video?" And I was like, I can't watch another video of a child being hurt. I just can't do it. And I'll never forget, she said, if you don't watch it, you won't know what to do. And I remember thinking, like, what do you
Mm,
mean? What are you talking about? And so later that night, I decided I watched the video of the girl who stood up. I was searching, and the video that I found was the girl who stood up for her being released from jail.
mhm.
And that little girl said, I knew, they said, well, why did you stand up? She said, because I knew she had no one else.
Wow.
And all I heard was, how's a child saying that she has to be the one
Right.
because nobody else is going to stand up for this other child, although we got these adults in the room. And so it stirred me. And then I watched the actual video. Like I say in the documentary, I couldn't sleep. And I remember like hearing, and I was like, really, God? That's what we're doing? Okay. And so I remember telling my friends the next day, I'm like, because at that point I'm thinking it's going to be let's take a group of people down and we're going to
Right.
do this. And it really wasn't that. And so I was like, I just have to go down. And without no money, but a friend of mine brought me a plane ticket. And to make a long story short, I went down there for 2 days. I thought it was going to be 2 days where I just help other organizers on the ground to see what happened because they were arrested. They were arrested under what is called the Disturbing Schools Law. And so as I'm like, because I'm also like one that's like, I can't just see something online. I need to investigate and see what's really underneath
Mm,
everything. And so my 2 days ended up me like, okay, God, that's what we're doing. And I relocated to the South to elevate the Southern Black girls' voice in this national conversation to push out in the school to prison pipeline because it's a distinct voice narrative that's happening in the South.
yes, indeed. Well, Lanny says, wow, Vivian, you truly followed your commitment and convictions all the way to South Carolina. Absolutely. And I really applaud you for that because, like you said, they didn't have a voice. And just to consider that, like you said, another child was the only voice that another child had.
Mm-hmm.
And so I applaud you for, like Lanny said, oh, but God, I applaud
But
you for
God.
listening. You know what I mean? Because some of us get that feeling, and it rattles in our up here and we start to feel it in our belly, but we push it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am so honored to have you to talk about how you actually took the steps and you meant what you said and you did something about it. And then look, it turned into this whole thing,
It
right?
turned into this whole thing. And I'm like, okay, I tell everybody, I just came to really hug two girls to let them know they wasn't alone. And I was supposed to go back to Brooklyn and just be there and live my happy little life. But God said, you're on assignment. I said, okay.
Wow.
Because I had to ask God, I said, don't nobody leave New York City to go to Columbia, South Carolina. You know that, right, God? Like,
Right, right. Like, did you think
clear
this
us.
through, Lord?
You know that, right? Like, what we going to do there? What I'm supposed to do? And he's just been guiding me every step of the way. And it's just, You know, I tell
Wow.
everybody I never knew that going to meet one Shakara would lead me into supporting so many unknown Shakaras, because
Wow.
that wasn't the first and it wasn't the last.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when did you get to the point that you said, okay, this, my voice is going to speak for these girls, and there has to be something bigger? When did you recognize that it needed to be something bigger, or did you not even recognize? How did that go?
Yeah, I never really thought it was going to be my voice. I was, what work do I need to do so their voice is always heard? That's why I agreed to the documentary, because they said the girls' voices would be heard. And I didn't want anybody else telling their story.
Yes.
And but I also wanted them to know they're going to be supported, because I've never done documentary, like, at that point I hadn't done a documentary before, because I did another one with Monique Morris around push out, but it looked different because what I just had to show up somewhere and speak. I
Uh-huh.
have somebody like following me around, and so I'm like, how do I support these girls, because now somebody's following them around, so it could be intrusive if
Right.
they're still I'm like, they still have stuff, trauma to live through. So I knew I wanted to be there for them. I just didn't know it was going to take on that type of like, oh, okay, oh, come speak where, come do what, huh, what, you know. I, so it took on, God
Yeah.
had a plan that I wasn't, but obedience all day. Listen,
That's
I
it.
was like, I don't play with God. We're gonna be obedient. What you
You're
say?
gonna do
I
that.
don't like this idea. I'm gonna do it even when I don't like it. But yeah, I think the whole point was, and I kept meeting kids who were like, "Why y'all tripping? Like this happens all the time," and they were so into like, "This is my norm and it's okay." And I'm like, "No,
It's
never, ever, ever should this be okay."
mm-hmm.
Like we silence too much, and not even because they didn't have a voice, they really
Mm-hmm.
didn't actually like teach me how to use it, especially when so many people, and that's why I said the southern context and there's so many places. But I'll always say Vegas rule ain't got nothing on the south.
Mm.
And if you have any family that's ever come from the south, they meant what happens is this house, stay in this house.
Yes,
We
indeed.
don't talk, we don't interrupt. We just gonna stay, get along and keep
Status
along,
quo.
right? It's
Keep it
going
right there. Wow.
right. But it's so many kids who are living through so much, and they're like, well, this is just it. And one of the things I kept getting, and not from an outside group, from folks in this body in this face, right,
Mm-hmm,
were
mm-hmm.
saying like, well, you know how black girls are.
Ooh.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Right? And it was just like, oh, but then when I started really doing healing justice work, when I really was like, I know it's something underneath that comment. Who hurt you? So when somebody would tell me, well, you know who black girls are, or you know how black girls are, you know what they are like, I would ask them, who told you that and how old were you and who hurt you? So I
Right.
would start talking to people who were saying it so I can
Mm.
have them heal their hurt so they can see how
Yes.
black girls are being hurt. Like I
Yes.
believe like unhealed people can't heal people.
Exactly. And Vivian, I'm so glad that that was your response, because the immediate response is to be angry and be like, what are you saying that? Why are you saying that? But you got to the root of it, because that is what ends up happening when you haven't had a voice. You don't even know that you get to have a voice. And then we turn it in on ourselves. That's what Dr. Joy DeGruy is talking about when she says post-slavery, post-traumatic slave syndrome, because that's what we do. We internalize the nonsense that they have built up in us, which is why he thought, Mr. Police SRO thought that he could do that. And he really believed that, because I remember in the documentary, it showed that he had a reputation and had been reprimanded time and time again for excessive use of force.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what just kept just gnawing at me, because he just really believed that it was okay. And then even though he got fired, he had all these people who were backing him because they believed just what that little girl said. You know how black girls are, you know. And I watched that video. That child never raised her voice.
No.
She never looked threatening. She just stood her ground. She just said, I don't have a phone. And so she got pulled out for a phone that she never, that they couldn't say that she had, because she didn't have it out. She wasn't using it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things where when we talk about, I think one of the things that kept me so like, wait a minute, there was a violation from the beginning.
Yes.
Before he walked over to her desk and said, "Give me the phone," and she asked to go see her support teacher, and he said no, because she had his IEP, and that's a federal mandate. That's an actual federal,
Yes.
like, it's a
Yes.
legal document that's supposed to be followed.
Exactly.
And he said no, and then he called someone when he wanted her out. Now, had
Ex-
he just abided and did what the IEP says it's supposed to do, everybody always says, what would happen if she just gave up her phone? And because I don't talk about nothing I don't know, right? So I had to get on the ground and investigate. There was never a phone. Let's start there. And
There.
so, but
She
had
said, and she
he,
said that, and that is what she said.
right, right, but
Mm.
had he let her go out of that classroom at that time, we wouldn't be on this conversation, right?
At
But
all.
because he was like, no, this is what you're gonna do. And then when she reached out for help on her own, and he's like, oh, you're gonna override me. And we see it with Ben. And one of the things is that Ben and I worked together for a year. So you see the one conversation on the documentary, but we were together for a year because I really do believe hurt people hurt people. I'm a very strong person on restorative justice, and I don't think I get to pick who gets to be restored.
Right.
And
Ooh, girl,
so we
amazing.
worked together for quite a while. And it's just like, because like I said in the documentary, he was so stuck on, oh, everybody think I'm the blame, I'm the blame. I was like, this ain't about blame.
Right.
It's really about accountability, and everybody got a role in it.
Yes. Now,
Everybody,
now
from the
let's
people who allow SROs to be in the school way before you got there, everybody got a role in it. Everybody. And everybody asked, don't you think should have got up? I said, this is not a conversation about if she should have gotten up. It's that the treatment that happens because she didn't get up. So I
exactly.
think, like, what does it mean to like actually be with children? But one of the things is when
Exactly.
you don't see them as children.
Exactly. And then we go all the way back to what it looks like when we are in a vulnerable spot, when we feel pain. Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that this child was a child that should have been taken care of like a child. And just for the boss talkers to know, Ben is the what is it?
SRO, the
The
school resource
SRO,
officer.
yeah, the school resource officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was
School
calling student.
school resource officer.
Yeah. And is he a real police officer? Like,
Yes.
he is a police.
In
Yeah,
South
that's the piece
Carolina,
that makes no sense to me.
yeah. So in South Carolina, one of the things, and in so many other states, what happens when they have armed officers, they are police officers. They've gone through the academy. And what we found is most of them are like, now it's something since that incident, a lot of things have happened where people are choosing to go into schools, but most of them have gotten in trouble in the streets and they put them in the schools.
Exactly. And so they're angry in the first place. Let's just start with that.
Yeah.
Feeling a type of way. William Seal says, I am so thankful I wasn't related to that young lady because my fiance knows what would have happened to that I have to keep my language clean, nice cop who was just doing his job. And that's the piece that was so upsetting to me, is that he just kept saying, and everybody just kept saying he was doing his job. And that we have to go all the way back to that. Like, why is that even a job? And why do we need an armed officer in a school? Something is broken down fundamentally at the very beginning with all of that. And the teacher that made the call, if that student had looked different, would that have been the choice you made?
Right. And because we never got a chance to talk to him, we don't know. And it's so multi-layered because so according to the report and the research that we all did, they called the administrator, and the administrator said call a social worker. The social worker was not available, right? And so immediately he just called the SRO. He was not the original SRO that was called, but his partner was busy doing something else, so he came up. And so we just spoke at the Capitol with the Counseling Not Criminalization in Schools Act to be pushed. It's like, put counselors in, because think about it. The social worker couldn't show up because she was on a call and had nobody else. But an officer was called. He couldn't show up, but he had somebody else. Where are we spending our dollars and what becomes important, right? And
Mm.
so when they start putting officers in schools, that happened like years and years ago when they were like, oh, we're worried about outsiders interrupting kids in school. But then as we saw integration happening, it became a different conversation. And that now everybody's saying officers need to be there because of all the school shootings, the mass shootings we're seeing in schools.
Mm-hmm.
But even the last shooting in Texas, right? We see the presence of officers in school does not stop mass shootings. And
Oh,
we actually saw what happened. And the research is showing that there there's like incidents of assault, right? We've seen like there's been things where it's like the report of guns and that decreased because guns weren't there. But we kept seeing like violence happening in the school, and a lot of those cases were officers with students.
wow. And they don't specify. They just call it violence in schools. See, that's you on your stuff, girl. I'm glad you do the research. Like, don't guess no. I love that. Lanny says, I'm glad you answered God's call. Um, she said, say that. Renice said the South ain't no joke. And she came to Cali from South Carolina, so she knows.
Yeah.
Lanny said, hashtag you are telling the truth. And Gwendolyn says, so great that you answered this high call and gave these girls a voice and a defender. Absolutely. I cannot, lift that up enough, Vivian. I really cannot. So where are things now? What is happening?
So, oh, so much, right? I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, okay, God, really, you can slow down a little bit. But we've been able to we have a full organization. So we've been working with girls. We're like, we turned 7 we turned 26. We'll turn 8 this year, right? And so, is it 8? It's been so many years. So like 7 or 8, right? And so we've been able to do direct service with young people. We've been able to one of the things I'm really passionate about is letting kids know, because one of the things that was really adamant with Shakara and Naya, I said, this moment will not define you, but it will give you a stepping stone to create your life if
Mm,
you choose. So
yeah.
always want to expose young people. So we've been able to take girls out of the country to see what's happening in other places and how it relates to them. They travel to meet girls from other states. We've been able to oh my God, we do conferences each year, and one of the things we just recently, I graduated a group of educators on March 23rd, because we can keep talking to young people. I can keep doing all these pieces. I'm a strong believer that no educator walked into school saying, I want to hurt a child. And
Right.
so I created a fellowship program, and they were with us for a year, teaching them how to use restorative justice and healing justice in the classroom. But they
Ooh,
spent 4 months of their year-long journey healing their trauma first.
woo, girl.
So I spent 4 months just pouring into educators saying, like, yeah, you're not getting paid a lot. You're angry. You don't even have passion for it anymore. And I was like, what does it take to reignite your passion and like rededicate yourself to the calling? Because some of these things are calling. It's not choices. People are
Right.
called to do things. And I wanted them to see that they were seeing too, because I know they're being dumped on. But if they're being dumped on, where do they have it? They're going to dump it on the kids. So I needed that piece to happen so
Mm,
our kids can keep feeling like they're held all around. So we're going to be graduating them. And right now we're really, I do a lot of work around helping people sustain. So during COVID, we were doing rapid response. We opened a site so parents could, when their kids, they had to go to work, so the kids need someplace. And we continue that when kids are separated from school. How do we make sure they're still in school with us?
mm,
Yeah, it's a lot on the radar.
yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, I work a lot with, in order for every Black girl to thrive, I need the world around her thriving, right? So
Yes. Oh,
if you're not doing well, how can you even see her? So I'm going to make sure you're
man.
well. And what does that look like? Do I need to help you get some economic development stuff going on? Do I need to help you get food, housing? What does that look like so you can actually see that this other person is suffering? So
Mm.
Just been doing that work. Yeah,
Wow,
that's
that's amazing. And you're not left with nothing to do. Uh, I see that. Rhonda Soror says, "Hey Soror," she says, "Good evening. I speak the truth. I agree. I'm glad she answered the call. Thank you." Yes, and Rhonda is a school counselor. And so definitely, Lanny says, outstanding, Vivian. I love that you have looked at all the needs. You have covered all the bases, and that's a beautiful thing because you're right. What is it looking like at home for these kids to leave from and return to? And how can we help make sure that that's strong and solid, and all the areas that they are that they touch in a
mm-hmm.
day? That is so beautiful. And I love that you have looked at all of the things to see what is needed, and you one by one knock down those barriers to get to what it is today. It is so, so beautiful.
Yeah,
Now,
one of
tell me,
the things.
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was saying one of the things that like God whispered in my ear, the boys are coming. Now I've always had boys in my program. This year I have more boys than I have girls in the program
What?
because I asked the question. I was asked the question. I was working on committee saying, "How do we end gender-based violence against girls and women?" And I said, "We got to heal the trauma of boys and men." And he just opened up the floodgates. And so I'm really excited about the work we're doing with the boys so they can interact with girls and women differently. We
And
talked a
learn.
lot about daddy hurt. I didn't know
Mm.
how much hurt mama hurt that boys was living.
Yes, absolutely. So when I first started seeing clients as a therapist, I was a intern. They called us then. They're now called associates. But my late husband's mother, God rest her soul, Mama Audie Wade, had a group home, two group homes for boys called the Touch of Life Foundation.
Hmm.
And so I walked right in there as green as the grass and started working with boys. And I was able to see exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And though it was hard at first to break through that tough exterior that, like, I gotta, but it's like, I know that you put that up to protect yourself. It is
Right.
a protective shield. It's not, a tough guy shield. And get inside there. It was like when the shell of a nut, that inside is tender. And that's
Mhm.
what these boys were like. And getting to see the heart of them, then I could understand more about, like, why they are in the positions that they're in, why they're filling up the juvenile justice system, and also recognizing the difference because of how they show up in the world with melanated skin. And
Yeah.
I got to watch the system keep these boys longer in juvie than some
Mhm.
of these other boys, and all of that kind of stuff. And we did programs. When I left there, I went to work with girls, and I was in charge of a 6-bed girls group home, and it's way different, I'll tell you that much. It is.
Sometimes it can be a little bit more.
Exactly. And a lot of this is baptism by fire. And I
Mhm.
remember saying, God, I want to be where I can see a little bit of everything, where I can see people at their most vulnerable, and where I can be in the trenches. And I'm just like, okay, Lord, okay, here we go. You didn't say I needed my skates, but here we go. And learning, I mean, it was baptism by fire for real. Like, that's when I
Mhm.
first saw human sex trafficking and realized that, oh, it's not a them problem. It's right here in the backyard.
Mhm.
And and we would do things where we could bring the boys and the girls together outside of the school setting, because they went to school together, but there were always problems. And it was like,
Yeah.
because we need to teach them how to be outside of the classroom, because
Yes.
that's why they're not able to learn, because there's all this other energy that's taking place that we haven't addressed. And so I love that you are just answering the phone every time God hollers. I love that.
Yeah.
um
Damn.
Oh, we got a good one here. Renee says, "Bless you, girl. How can I donate?" So we'll be putting up those links, but you can go ahead and say it now.
Oh yeah, you can donate to every black girl. Well, PayPal, we have Cash App, and I'll put it in the chat again because I am so terrible because I put the links up that you asked. I answered questions. You told me what to put in. I put in that. I didn't think about that. But on the,
Now,
yeah,
is this
so
the website that I have here?
yeah, the website that you have there, and then at PayPal is everyblackgirl1@gmail.com. And then Cash App is one, the number one, EBGINC.org.
Okay. Okay. My producer's gonna. She's put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
You,
Because,
you put
I'm
it in
trying.
the chat. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, she gonna put it in the chat? Okay, great.
No,
Thank
no.
you.
She wants you to.
Okay, let me try to do that because
Yeah.
I go invisible when I do that. Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. William Seals said, "Thank the Lord above that we have beautiful Black women making pathways of righteousness and holding unrighteous behavior accountable." Absolutely. Yes, darling. And Brian, cousin Brian says that protection is sometimes the last defense that young boys, men, can muster before they break. Come on. That is so true. And cousin Brian has worked with young men. He is a member, an esteemed member of Omega Psi Phi, and I know that they do programs that also benefit young men. And I love it when Black men take the charge to move into the ranks and raise up our young Black men, because we need that so that they are ready for the young Black women that those of us out here in the work are raising up. So amen and thank you for that.
Okay.
Dr. Daphne in the house. She says hello and blessings. I love it. Thank you, sis, for tuning in. It's good to see you as always. So we're going to get those links up so that we can get you guys are donating, and that is amazing. I would love for us to talk offline and see what kind of collaborating we can do and how you might be able to use me as a mental health professional working in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I also I started a nonprofit after my late husband William Joseph Brinkley. It's called the William Joseph Brinkley Center for Cultural Affirmation, because I believe part of the problem is these kids have never been affirmed. They've never been taught to stand in the beauty that is just them, to love the melanin, to speak up for the melanin, and all of those things. So these are the kinds of programming that we want to do, that support them, that educate them about things that sometimes we don't even think about, like some of the things that maybe we didn't get, like financial planning, financial literacy, how to balance your checkbook with
Yeah.
how to make a little go a long way, and all those kinds of things. So I'm sure there's a collaboration in the offing. I can feel it.
Yeah, and to connect you to some other folks that are doing work specifically with boys, right? And so there's some networks, because one of the things I wanted to be very clear when I was working is just like, this is not a friend said this once, and I haven't let it go. It's not an oppression Olympics. It's really about like, what's the need right now and who's in most need, and how can we make it an equitable plan, like really how can we make sure everybody is being seen, so it's not like, oh, the boys need this and the girls don't, or it's just like, how do we balance it all at one time?
Right,
So whenever I'm doing something and I'm like, oh, okay, so you just mentioned boys, let me connect you to a network of people I know that's doing work with boys and men, and where funding is, it's also, so
right.
that as
Yes,
well.
yes, yes. Like you said, I love that. It's not the oppression Olympics. I love that.
Yeah.
So RQQ to the good bros. We stand in the gap. Manhood is the principle. Absolutely, my cousin. Absolutely. Always great to see you also. Yes, my sister. So Vivian, now what are you doing personally in South Carolina? Because I'm all about the wellness of oneself as you do the work. So, what are some of the things that you have found that you use as refuge as you go and do this work? How do you find your safe space and your healing, and what lifts you up in South Carolina?
Yeah, my relationship with God. Like, I really, the more I dive into the word and the more I'm seeking his face all the time. Yeah, do I get my nails done? Do I do all that? Absolutely. Do I take breaks? But the thing that really sustains me is like,
Mhm.
okay, okay, God, I need to see your face today. I need you, like the way learning to lean and keep leaning in that way has been, like my saving grace. And even those days when I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do anything today, I
Mm-hmm.
know I can fall out because I'm resting in His arms. So I would really say that this year, in the past year or so, because I really listen. I'm a truth teller. Somebody. Some people say I'm too transparent. I remember November 15th. I know the date. It was November 13th, 2022. And I was like, God, you got a year. You got to show me something or I'm done.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
not with the work. Like, I'm not going, and I spent a year just like seeking Him and saying, like, okay, wherever you, and I've always had Him, like, every move I've made, even like, okay, God, I'm always going to be obedient. But I'm like, it's something else. And once I did that, I'm like, got it.
Yeah, he made it
So
very
it's
abundantly clear.
Yeah, he's like, you could trust me. And I've been working lately with so we're talking about healing, and I didn't realize the I never thought I had daddy issues until somebody said we can call God daddy. I was like,
Ooh, wee. There. Bing, ding,
I was like,
ding.
no, he's God. He's my Jesus. He's my Lord. And so working through that, and it's just like the more I do this work, I keep saying I'm not going to talk about anything I don't know. I'm not going to be with these kids if I'm not doing what I'm asking them to do. And so the work actually demands that I go deeper in myself. The work actually demands that if I tell somebody, girl, you've been working all week, you need to take a break, that includes you too, Vivian. So I'm really trying to stay, level with that. So yeah, it's really been falling in love with Jesus all over again. Loved Him all my life, but at this stage, when things rocked my world in a way that I never thought they would, and I landed on my feet.
Right. Ooh, girl. Come on now. You better preach. I am just saying. Because I'm so, so, so glad to hear you speak these truths. And then it just makes it more obvious because I felt your spirit through that documentary. I felt your heart and I felt your truth. And you are a true soldier. And my heart is just filled right now with I'm just so grateful to God that these girls have you as their soldier, as their heart, as their all the things, because you said it all. You said it all. I am
All
thrilled.
right, I didn't know I was going.
I know, me
Ooh,
too. Lanny says, yes, that relationship with God. Dr. Daphne says, absolute truth. Renee says she got self care most people don't know about. Hallelujah. That's right. That's right. Lanny says, I love Jesus.
yes, that's I love God. You love, like, really, like, it is such a thing where it's just like it grabs you in such a way. I often hear people talking about it ain't my mama's God. It ain't the pastor's God. It's my God. Like, He's mine. That's my daddy. That's my Abba. That's like,
Yes.
but it took work because you weren't gonna hear me say that's my daddy, that's my Abba, right? But that's what I'm saying. Like, as we do this work and as we stand and we talk, are we doing the work? And help
Right.
me heal. Like, my father has passed on, but it helped me heal spaces that I didn't know was broken.
Yes, girl. See, that's what I'm saying. And it's interesting that we can always find whatever we need in him. And even when we don't know what that something is, he
That part.
shows right on up and says, tap, 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 tap. You know, it is more than a notion.
Ooh,
Knowing him for yourself. Hello, sorority. She says, knowing him for yourself. That's right. That's right. Abba Father, Daddy. Yes, indeed.
amen.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know. I didn't even know. But I
Listen, he
did
been
know.
a friend.
I did know. I did know. Because I'm telling you, there was something. And y'all, this beautiful woman is so humble and she is doing just such amazing work. And now we know why, because she gives the glory to our Father.
Yeah,
She knows that she's doing his work and but God, right?
my God.
Woo, I love it. I love it so much. So tell me, in South Carolina,
Mhm.
how do the girls find you? How do they, and I'm gonna put your info up right here right now. Okay, what happened? There it goes. Okay, Vivian Anderson, Every Black Girl, and I think that's Inc., right? And so
Yes.
that's the website, that's the Facebook and Instagram. And for all donations, you can go to Cash App and PayPal, everyblackgirl@gmail.com.
Yes.
So y'all go ahead and start sending your love to this beautiful woman and this beautiful organization. So I'm gonna leave that up for a few minutes. So how do the girls find you? How do people come to become a part of Every Black Girl?
Most of the time it's just like we put on two conferences a year. So one is in October. When I first met Naya, and Naya was the girl who stood up for Shakara, I
Right.
said, Naya, if you can, how can I support you? What does it look like? And Naya said, if we can come together every year and have this conference. So she said that, and so every year in October I have a conference honoring, because if I ask you something, I'm not just like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, that's what
Right.
you want. That's what we're gonna keep doing.
That's what we're gonna do.
And then in March, I have a conference just celebrating, because sometimes we talk a lot about the political, this, but it's in March we celebrate Black girls and women. This March we didn't have one because Asia Wilson, who's a homegrown, girl here from South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, played ball, put Columbia on the map with basketball, her and Dawn Staley. But Asia Wilson is having her first conference in Las Vegas, so I'm sending girls to her conference.
I love
And so yeah, so most people word of mouth. Schools refer. Department of Juvenile Justice is hearing about our work, so they're referring. But yeah, it's usually somebody, and it was like, oh, my child was a part of this, or I heard you can do this, or oh, wait a minute, I didn't even know y'all was doing this, and so it's a lot of word of mouth, and it's just like,
Mhm. Mhm. And is all of your funding through donations, or are you getting monies from the state or government entities
so
at this point?
yes. So we get grants. So right now,
Okay.
donations and grants. And I remember when we first started, because I was just like, I know the philanthropy world, and I was just like, how can I teach others about economic development and being sustainable? And what does it mean? I wanted EBG to live way beyond me. And that's not even about me dying. That's like, I might want to retire and just sit back with my husband and
There
just
you
like
go.
sit somewhere and let another executive director. My goal is that the girls themselves will be running the organization.
Yes,
And
I love that.
so we just purchased a strip mall. And so the idea is that the funding from the strip mall will actually allow us to go to 70% revenue driven and 30% donations. So what does it mean to not have to just not about the handout is not bad. Like, I need
Right.
support. I'm going to keep asking for donations,
Yes,
right?
yes,
But
yes.
what does it mean to teach them to build? What does it mean entrepreneurship? If I'm teaching, like I keep saying, I can't keep telling you to do something I'm not willing to do. And so what does it mean? And so this allows us to like really pour into the community. So everybody who rents in those units will be people who are going to pour back into the community.
But I'm sorry, Vivian. I just gotta hold on, girl. Wait. See, I just gotta lean back a minute. You said y'all just purchased a strip mall.
Yes, ma'am.
Come on, God. Come on, come on, come
Yeah,
on.
that was something I wasn't planning on either. I was like, God, I thought I was building a school. What we doing right here?
What's this right here? Okay, so
Where
you
is
said
money?
a
The
strip
thing is like,
mall.
God, where
Okay.
is money coming from? What we doing? And then it was just like hands up. And this is my testimony. The strip mall is actually a testimony. My best friend passed away in December.
Hmm.
My other very dear friend got married on January 6th. I couldn't breathe, but I was like, I'm going to show up for her because she always showing up for me. And I remember coming back and God said, don't forget what I told you. And it was a conversation about purchasing. I was like, and it was off the table. And I was like, God, I ain't got time, but I'm obedient. The next day I got on the phone and I was like, okay, well, God, if this gonna happen, it's gonna be you. Went to the bank and they like, yes, and it was a no. And somebody was like, oh, I know who to connect you with. And it's just been moving ever since. And the official close date is the 23rd, but 22nd. But yeah, we We're so we
But
can
we're all gonna
generate
sing
so we can
hallelujah.
generate and create, sustainability. And it's just one of those things where it's just like every time I think this is what it's supposed to look like, God be like, yeah, but this is what you actually gotta do.
Right. I know that was cute and everything, but no, not that this.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm with Lanny. Bravo. Bravo. Mr. Seal said, this just proves that God uses women just as well as he uses men. She is a modern day Messiah for the young girls of the day. Fight for their freedom, fight for their protection. Amen. And I'm just saying. Yes, Dr. Daphne said, wonderful testimony. So when you said that, I just had to be like, I just wanted to do the won't he do it dance, you know? This is amazing. And I love that. If you're out there and you are a 501c3 and you're just getting started, like I'm just getting started, please take note of what God will do if you trust, if you're obedient, if you believe. And you just got to listen. You just got to listen. I used to say God used to have to yell so I could hear him, but now I just say, whisper to me, Daddy, because I'm listening. I love all of this. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is amazing. Vivian, I always ask my guests to give us some nuggets that they want to leave with the boss talkers. So what would you like to leave the boss talkers with this fine evening?
Listen, since we've been on it, so I'm gonna keep going with it, right? Because really, like, obedience is way for better than sacrifice. Don't think like
Mm,
your obedience don't mean you giving up anything. Like stay obedient, listen for God's whispers, because like when I think about every time, like, okay, God, and I followed, I'm gonna trust you, like really trusting in God. And knowing that, I tell everybody like that ping in your heart, and you said it earlier, that ping, you it.
mm,
People often ask, well, how can I get involved? How can I do? You actually, all of us have the answer for what we've been called to do.
ooh.
So trust that ping in your heart.
Yes, I love that. We all have the answer for what we've been called to do. Trust that ping in your heart. Woo! Drop the mic. I love that. That is so real. That is so real. Soror Terry, hello, hello. She says, what I love about her is she's listening to God and being obedient. I think that is the message of the evening is obedience is better than sacrifice. And all we have to do is listen because he will make it clear. God is not a God of chaos. He is a God of clarity, and he will tell you what to do.
And I'm gonna add a little caveat. I don't know. The spirit just brought this down to me because I really want us to like, because people get twisted with that. Um, when you're obedient and you're truly being obedient, you don't feel like you sacrificing.
That's it. Come on. That's it. Love it. Ping. Love it. There we go. I need to give that the emphasis it deserves. Soror
Yeah.
laddie. Yes, and that is so true. That is so true because what and I do believe that for what I have noted for myself, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is God when He puts something on your heart, he 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 makes it your heart's desire when he like even when you think you like what me, then it becomes a part of your heart because you recognize that you are doing what he's asking you to do,
Yeah.
and then you start to know that however you don't have to know the how, you don't have to know the why, you just have to know that he knows
Yeah. That
and
part. That part. Yeah.
move. And you're leaving New York City, moving to South Carolina with only trusting him, because that's definitely not a only, but with trusting him and knowing that the money was going to come, the living space was going to come, and the idea that you had in your heart would come to fruition because he told you to do it. He told you this is what you need to do.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
gave me the idea because that wasn't like I thought I was just, and it was like, oh, okay, we stand. Oh, wait a minute, we start an organization. Oh, we doing this because I remember when I was working at the YMCA in Greater New York, right? And I was meeting with the CEO, And he sat back. I never don't forget. Jacqueline sat back and looked at me. He's like, I watch you, Vivian. You really working so you can have my job. I said, no, I don't want your job. You run a whole organization. Ain't nobody gonna deal with all this stuff and all da. And then I was like, okay, God, you knew something I didn't know because now here I
Okay.
am, a full organization, right?
Yes, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And y'all, this is straight from Vivian. Listen to God's whisper. We all have the answer within us for what God has called us to do. Trust that ping in your heart. Absolutely, girl. That sounds like a long hashtag to me. I love it.
What remember Music Soul Child, one of his songs, just put all the letters, put it all
That's
together,
right.
put it all together.
That's it.
Remember all
That's
his
it.
songs that just be like one,
All one thing. All one thing. It's like,
no spaces,
he knew about hashtag long before it happened, right?
right?
I
Love
love
it
it.
though.
I love it. Well, Vivian, this has been such a delight and a privilege, honestly, to talk
Yes,
to
thank
you
you.
and to watch someone who is actually living out your, as I call it, living in your who you are-ness, and you have stepped into your God-given, God-driven purpose. And we honor you and thank you for that. Thank you for what you do for all of those girls out there in South Carolina and the surrounding areas and abroad, because I
Yeah.
think that, you know, so many people are being touched by what you do. And y'all, if you have not seen it, it is called On These Grounds.
Yes.
So go tell Alexa to pull it up. If you got Alexa, tell Siri if you got Siri. But do see this documentary and know what we were talking about. And this is just a beautiful heart that we have witnessed and gotten to know tonight. And I just thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Seal says this is why he says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Follow me and I'll lead you to the light. Amen. And
Amen.
on that, y'all, this has been Boss Talk with Sean LeRae and Vivian Anderson of Every Black Girl Inc. So I just know what to tell y'all to do, because you know, y'all live loved, and shalom, y'all. And see you next week. Meanwhile,
Thank you so much.
enjoy the soulful stylings of Wayne Lindsay and Alana Lindsay, and listen to my theme song. Here we go. Peace.
One of a kind. One of a kind.
Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.